It would have had to have been custom-made. He had the skim-milk complexion of the true redhead, which called attention to the scarlet lesions of the true drunkard. But he was sober now, and came straight up to my desk without looking around. I had more than a hunch he could still have described everything in the office down to the buttons on General Custer's tunic in the framed print covering a bald patch in the wallpaper. Everyone's eyes are pretty much the same size, despite what you read, but his were lost in his face, bright and blue under bloated lids. I got up to shake his hand. It was too small for his wrist, but it had plenty of torque. "Walker, I know who you are, Mr. Pearman. My TV doesn't work so well since HD, but a memory for faces goes with the job." His name was Louis Pearman. He did stand-up for the news, and had worried away at the reputation of a local investment counselor with an international portfolio, until he got down to a pool of corruption as big and deep as an underground lake. The Securities and Exchange Commission was still conducting diving operations there, but Pearman had moved on to City Hall. He was a very good reporter, or they'd never have let him near a camera. "HD." He made a porcine noise. "That little act of Congress almost put me out of work. Nobody likes to come home from a hard day on the line and look at a kisser like this. I'm considering an offer from the CBC. They're still analog in Canada, and fuzzy enough to make me look like the mannequin behind the desk." But he was pleased to have been recognized. "I didn't call for an appointment. It doesn't look like I'm interrupting much." I was right about his powers of observation. 2 file drawers hung out like dogs' tongues, and the pile on the desk looked unchanged since I'd started 2 hours ago. I'd only just cracked the 21st century. I said, "I'm on hiatus. That's the word, right? Don't ask me. I'm still a print journalist at heart. Stinking shame what's happening to newspapers." I know. I had to let the parakeet go. That stumped him for half a second. Then his paunch started undulating, and something he thought was a sardonic chuckle came staggering out through his nostrils. He seemed to do most of his communicating through them. "I can see we won't have to break the ice. I don't suppose you have any?" His face took on a hungry look. I opened the safe I never bothered to lock and took out a bottle of Old Smuggler and stood it on the desk. The safe came with the office. I kept a change of shirts in it and the floor plan to the Federal Reserve, but it had looked empty until I moved the scotch there from the desk. That had made room in the deep drawer for cartons of cigarettes. I got out 2 souvenir shot glasses and filled them both. No ice. Sorry, when they wired this place, it came by horse. He grinned and took a sip. I'd pegged him to put it away in a single, easy down payment, but you don't get far in my occupation being surprised. We sat, he in the customer's chair I'd bolted to the floor to keep the halitosis at bay, and fed quietly from our glasses. It was 10 a.m. on the dot, but the sky was overcast and you couldn't see where the sun was in relation to the yardarm. I never said he was the only drunkard in the room. "World's gone to hell," he opened, warming his hands around the little glass. They were that small. I'd have suspected polio in childhood if not for the strength of his grip. I shook my head, smiling my secret smile. "You don't agree?" I didn't say that. "Most everybody does. Almost everybody," I said automatically. He made a face on top of the one God already stuck him with. "That's what 40 years in broadcasting does to you. It's a wonder I can communicate at all. But you know what I meant." "Not me. I'm in too good a mood. Spring in the air? Cash in my wallet. Same thing. Doesn't look like you splash it around. I put one of those funny new light bulbs in the ceiling fixture just last week." He changed the subject. "I heard most private detectives are ex-cops. Some of them are still on the job. It depends on the regulations regarding moonlighting." "What about you?" "I was, briefly. What happened?" "I broke my hand." "They don't toss you out for that." "I broke it on the jaw." His eyelids lifted. Scratch a journalist, find a news hound. "Whose?" "It's a long story, and I don't feel like being this week's human interest feature. Anyway, I have filing to do, and you have to brush up on the metric system."